Hello and welcome to the first ever Ancient Minecrafter video. Quick introduction, my real name is Graham. I'm called the Ancient Minecrafter for two reasons. One, in most people who play Minecraft's terms, I am ancient. I got into Minecraft because my children were all playing this game and talking about it and watching the videos, and I thought either I can ban, which would be really nasty, or I could play it myself so that we'd actually have something to talk about. And the other reason I chose the name Ancient is because I am fascinated by all things prehistoric and all things ancient. So the first thing I did, I got my laptop out, I got all the Java and everything working, I installed Minecraft, and I built a copy of Stonehenge as accurately as I could on a super flat world, just to kind of, creative mode, just to get the hang of it. And once I did that, it was really cool. You could actually, unlike today with English Heritage, you could walk around the stones, you could go in and out, you could watch the sunset, you could build the avenue. And at the same time, there's been a lot of archaeology and research coming out recently that sees Stonehenge as not just a pile of stones in the middle of a super flat world, which obviously in the real world is the Salisbury Plain in Wiltshire, but oh, sorry, that's a bear growling. I'll move on to him in a minute. I'll just get away from him for a moment. Um, but yeah, Stonehenge is being seen as one feature in a landscape that is full of prehistoric stuff that goes back thousands of years. Some of it goes back to before Stonehenge, some of it was built afterwards. Stonehenge itself was actually built over a period of about 1500 to 2000 years. So I set out to do something really ridiculously ambitious, and I set out to create a small slice of prehistoric Wiltshire in Minecraft. So although this looks like a rather boring, slightly empty surface bit of Minecraft, it is actually a vast block. I used a program called World Painter. If I go up here and you look on the map, you can see a straight line. That's because World Painter is like, oh, I'm going to get away from that bear again. World Painter is kind of like a super editor. It comes in, when you look at it on the screen, you've got squares, and each square is 128 blocks in per side. And you can just use your mouse to carve like these hills and these valleys and all sorts of stuff like that. You can even put in rivers, lava, caves, you can do everything with it, and then it renders it into a Minecraft world. So this is from north to south. It's 3,000 blocks or 3 kilometers, and from east to west it's 5,000 blocks, with Stonehenge kind of roughly in the middle. While I'm on the subject of World Editor, not World Editor, World Painter, sorry, I used two programs, one called World Edit and one called World Painter. I'll quickly run through some of the other mods I'm running, because my overall plan was to turn Minecraft from being just a game into being a representation of life in the prehistoric. And in Life Before Children, I was a Java programmer, so I wrote a mod. Here's one of my animals in my mod. It looks like a black cow, but it's actually what's called an aurochs. They are what was there before cows were domesticated. It's slightly bigger, it's got a lovely white stripe down his back and really big horns. And he behaves a lot like a cow. He's actually a copy of a cow, just kind of tweaked a bit. Now, this thing over here that was annoying me earlier is one of my least successful mods. It's a bear. It looks really, really effective. I really love the way he looks. He's still got a lot of wolf code in him, so he growls like a dog. And for some reason I can't figure out, you can punch him and he doesn't attack. But anyway, enough about him. And the third animal I made in my mod, which I'm really, really proud of up here, are the deer. And they look, don't show me your bottom. There. And I really, really like the way they look and the way they came out. They're really beautiful. And as I say, I wanted to change pretty much all of Minecraft into a different experience. So now if you kill a deer, for example, sometimes they drop string. I've added in some new materials. Cows drop bone as well as leather, and sometimes they drop skulls as well. And you can get antler as well and horn. These are all new materials I've added in, and as time goes by I will start adding in recipes for them as well, so you can make stuff. I've already got things. If we look under tools, I've got things like a bone shovel, an antler pickaxe, and things like that. So that gradually, as I go on and carry on coding, you will have less creepers and spiders and skeletons and things like that, and more just like prehistoric life, where you find some flint, and when you found some flint, you can then kill an antler, you can then kill an antler, kill a deer, and then you can make a bow and so on, and actually, as they would have done tens of thousands of years ago. I'm also running voxel map, as you can see up here in the top right, and I can press X to get a nice big map. I'll just zoom out a little bit. In, out, there we go. And I'm also running a couple of other mods just to make my life a bit easier while I'm doing this. One of them is dynamic lights, which means if I carry a torch around, I can see things. One thing I would say is if anybody out there knows how to code and has made their own mods and is interested, please get in touch, because I don't have much time, and it was a long time ago I did Java programming. So like I say, things like the bear doesn't work properly. There's lots of ideas I've got that I haven't at the moment got time to put into practice. Right, so that's the mods and what I'm running, and that's the world I'm in. My basic plan was, as I say, to build Stonehenge, but as I realised, Stonehenge needs to be seen in the context of the world that was around it. And as I say, it's also a monument that's existed for 5,000–6,000 years and has changed a lot over that time. So I started looking through some history books and leaflets and things like that. Now this is another feature of voxel map that's really useful. That enables me to teleport between waypoints. So what I thought I would do is I would start with the very, very earliest features in the landscape and then gradually build my way up from there. So that when I come to build Stonehenge, you'll be able to run around the landscape and see what they would have seen as they were building Stonehenge. Because a lot of the features like barrows, ditch and bank systems and things like that are really, really ancient, way older than Stonehenge, and they would have been what the builders of Stonehenge knew. Now, one of the very, very first things at Stonehenge, right, the old visitor centre, before they built the lovely new one, in the car park were these three big white circles just painted like on the ground. Nothing fancy, they were just painted with normal road paint, really. But if you looked in the leaflets, what was originally there, sorry, I'm looking for wood as well at the same time, so I'm getting a bit confused. What was originally there were three post holes, and they think they were used for totem poles, or for some sort of pole, and they are actually unbelievably old. They're somewhere between 9 and 10,500 years old. So before anything else was there, before we invented farming, when hunter-gatherers were around, all of that, there were these weird post holes in the ground. And nobody really knows why, so having a mod and having the ability to make my own custom blocks and everything, I thought I would add in some totem poles. Now there are 3 definite post holes, and there are 5 or 6 other marks in the ground that might be post holes or might not be, they're not quite sure. So I'll just put in 3 post holes, and they do this, they're kind of nearly in a straight line but not quite, and they kind of point, as you can see again, there's my voxel map waypoint, and they kind of point towards Stonehenge. And that is the very first thing, as I say, really 10–15,000 years ago in the landscape. I'm now going to fire up voxel map again because I need to be over there, which is like nearly a mile away actually. And I'm going to go back to the west end, because the other thing that's absolutely massive on the landscape and was there about 5,500 years ago was this thing called the cursus. Sorry about that, my cat just attacked my microphone. I'm going to leave that in. Right, yes. Now the cursus, if you look on the voxel map, you can see it was like those old running tracks you get at the Olympics or at school playing fields or something like that, except it was massive. And this is about as wide as it is. I'm just going to turn around here along it and just start flying along for a minute. They didn't make it with lovely straight lines, you can see it wobbles a bit. And I'm just going to pop back out so you can have a look at my waypoints. That's 2,654 meters that way. And we're already 65 meters that way, so the whole thing's about 2,700 meters long, more or less. And it's about 100 meters wide. And if I go over this side's nearer, if I fly over to here, which of course poor old prehistoric man would have had to have walked. Oh yeah, as I've said, I've written a mod. This is my chalk block. In real Wiltshire, everything under the grass would not be this brown dirt. It would be chalk. So this is kind of nearly like snow, but it's actually a solid block that you can build with. I'm now looking for it. Chalk. Need to put some chalk back in there. And they would have done this because A, it was available, but also if you look over there, even with this render distance and with some plants, it's really, really obvious on the horizon. And you'll be able to see it for miles around. And the Cursus was all built like this, as far as they can tell. It's very old and it's been ploughed out, but there's a ditch. And then opposite the ditch is a bank, so obviously they would have dug the ditch and chucked all the earth up here, and then chalk. And then I've got the ditch on the other side. And using another mod, as I said, there's two mods. One called World Painter, which is what I used to make the whole thing. And then a second one I use called World Edit, which you can do things like copy and paste, you can stack, so you can basically build one section of ditch and bank and then copy it right the way across the landscape. Now unfortunately for me it doesn't always run straight like this, otherwise I could have done it in an afternoon. It goes up and down, it weaves diagonally across the landscape, it goes through forests. So it took me several months to do this actually, because obviously it's got two sides. You can wait for the graphics card to catch up. Yeah, you can see it over there, 100 meters away that way. And each side is 2,700 long. Here we go, you see it actually goes off at a bit of an angle at some point. Like this, and that's, you know, kind of easy to do, and then all of a sudden you get to hills, and then it goes down into valleys, and it just keeps going. And you can see we've still got, well, more than 2,000 blocks this way to get to the other end. And I expect the hill's in the way now and it's getting dark. But, yep, there it is, 100 yards over that way. And like I say, nobody knows what it was there for. Obviously it was important, because, you know, there's an awful lot of effort put into building it. If I come down, you can see when you're on the ground, it would just kind of dominate. You'd know you're in an enclosure. You'd know you were completely surrounded by these massive ditches and banks. Right, so that's where we're up to today. This is about 5,500 years old, sort of around 3,500, 4,000 BC. People have started farming. We haven't yet got to the Bronze Age. There's no metal tools, no wheels, stuff like that. And in the next video, I'll move time forward a bit. I'll probably be building some long barrows. You can see the dynamic lights mod as we go inside. You can put some bones in there and things like that. So thank you ever so much for watching. Please do subscribe, tell your friends, talk about it, leave me comments, let me know what you think. And especially if you know how to code, do get in touch if you want to help. And we can make the bears attack people and things like that. Thank you very much. Goodbye.